Welcome back to the Nikki Clarke Radio Show on wearehotline.net. And joining us today is Dr. Timea Belej, who is with the Anova Fertility and Reproductive Health. How are you doing today, Dr. Timea?
I'm great, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time out to chat with us today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So tell us about your passion then leading up to working as a fertility doctor, if that is correct. Maybe you can tell me how that happened.
Absolutely. I fell in love with biology in high school, and that's when I decided that I actually wanted to become an obstetrician gynecologist. I had no doctors in my family, but I just knew that helping people is what I really wanted to do. And then I fell in love not only with science, but women's health in particular in high school, where my teacher introduced me to this superb scientist called Broomhilda, and she did all these wonderful experiments. And then as I learned more and more about women's health, I just knew that what I wanted to do was help women, and so to become an obstetrician gynecologist. And then I went on to do my bachelor's, my master's, and then my medical school, as well as the 5-year obstetrics and gynecology residency, and then the fellowship in infertility, all at the University of Toronto. At which point, after 17 years, my husband was like, well, you know, dear, you do have to start working someday, though he knew I loved being a student and learning more and more as I went on. While I was in medical school, one of our rotations was in obstetrics and gynecology. So when I got to cut the cord of the first baby that I ever attended the delivery for, I knew I was hooked for obstetrics and gynecology. And then as we were doing our residency, the 5-year residency, in the 4th year, we had a rotation in infertility. And there I noticed the total opposite end of kind of what I had known, which was delivering the babies. This was the other end where we were helping to create them. And it was just, I fell in love with it and I found it fascinating. And so decided to tack on another 2 years to the 15 that I already done. Went home, wrote up the application, and I got in, and I haven't looked back since.
Fantastic. Well, that's an incredible journey. A lot of studying, a lot of dedication. And I wanted to ask you something. Statistically, how is it now for women in terms of fertility? Women are getting married later on in years, right? They're prolonging marriage to focus on careers. So as far as my biology knowledge goes, you know, the best maternal years are, you know, mid-20s to maybe about 34 or 35, and then it gets to advanced maternal age. So I'm imagining that women are coming to you for this particular special situation that's going on because they're in relationships later on in life.
Yes, and I think we're not providing enough education to them because they feel great, you know, they're healthy, they're taking care of themselves, they're eating healthy, they're exercising, they feel great, they look great. However, despite all of that, unfortunately, our ovaries do age, and so I have many 40-year-olds that are coming, you know, super healthy, not realizing that their fertility has been declining, despite them being healthy.
And then probably this is their first opportunity to have a child.
Yes.
And then their ovaries are at an advanced state. So how would you sit with them, counsel them, and prepare a needs assessment then? And
what's called a fertility? Sorry, can you repeat the question?
No, I was saying I think you're about to describe like what it would be to, you know, counsel them, give them the preparation for acquiring fertility, what you would do with them.
Yes, so what we do is we measure their hormone levels on the 3rd day of their period. One of them is called FSH, or follicle stimulating hormone. That's the one that kind of our brain sends to our ovaries to tell them to make the eggs every month. Then we also check to see if their tubes are open. So there's a specific test that we look at the uterus and the tubes to make sure that they're open, called a sonohysterogram. There's also a test called AMH, or anti-Mullerian hormone. That's another way of looking to see how many eggs they have left. And then based on those investigations, then we can kind of give them an idea of how they're doing reproductively.
Okay. And how, just as an example, how advanced are some of those years that come and visit you? Like, what is the cutoff age for fertility, or is there one?
Well, average age of live birth, last live birth is about 43, although it can be later for some women. Currently, I have a 45-year-old woman who's pregnant, but it's very rare.
It's very rare. So someone who's in their late 40s, is it impossible to get pregnant?
It's not impossible, but the chance would be like 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 10,000, for example. However, it can happen. Oftentimes when women are older, then what they do is they use what's called a donor egg, so an egg from a younger woman. And that allows them then to carry the pregnancy, but genetically that egg would not be from them.
Okay. Just a question then. Is childbearing and fertility, is that connected through genetics? When a woman has a cycle, is it something that's passed down to the generation?
It can be. I mean, some of us are born with more eggs than others, and if there is a family history, for example, of premature ovarian failure, then that is something that can be passed on. And there are other genetic conditions, such as Turner syndrome, where there's only one X chromosome instead of 2 in a woman, and those women do run out of eggs very early on.
Okay. I'm just going to say, for my own situation, my grandmother had her last baby at 48.
Aha.
So is it a possibility that runs in, my side of the family, my mother's side of the family? Is it a...
It may be a possibility. We don't know the specific gene that might be responsible for that yet. However, if your environment was different, for example, or if you have a different condition, then those might affect, even though genetically you might have a good number of eggs, there are other things that environmentally and socially can affect our egg number, such as smoking, for example. That can deplete your pool, or if you had...
Yeah.
Exactly, or some type of ovarian surgery, or if you had radiation or chemotherapy for a cancer, for example. So those would be other things that can also affect it.
Okay. All right. So how often do you meet with women coming to your office?
5 days a week. We're open 7 days a week, but I see patients in the office 5 days a week.
Okay. Wonderful. And can you tell us what the process is then for fertilization? Do they do in vitro, or is it just, or do they have a choice of just changing up their diet or certain things that they have to tweak in order to prepare for fertility?
Yes, so we offer anything from the most basic to the most advanced. So we go from monitoring a woman's cycle, for example. We work with a naturopath and an acupuncturist as well. We review their diet, talk about vitamins. Then we can give them medications to get them to ovulate multiple eggs in a given month. And with that, we can either time their intercourse, or we can do what's called intrauterine insemination, where we process the sperm and then place it into the woman's uterus. Following that, another level would be the in vitro fertilization, where we make the embryos in our lab. Part of that process can also involve injecting a single sperm into a single egg, and that's called intracytoplasmic sperm injection. And then we can even check the embryos for their chromosomes before we even transfer them back. So that's called PGS, or pre-implantation genetic screening. We also work with single women who want to use donor sperm, for example, same-sex couples, and anyone that wishes to conceive.
Okay. Now, Again, this is all very new to me. Is this covered by the provincial government, by OHIP, or are these extra costs?
So currently, OHIP covers one IVF cycle cost per patient up to the age of 43. And also fertility preservation, so that could be sperm freezing or egg freezing if they're about to undergo a procedure that's going to deprive them of their fertility, such as radiation or surgery or chemotherapy. What is not covered are the medications and any other costs like the counseling, for example, for the use of donor sperm or donor eggs, storage fees like for the frozen embryos, and the sperm costs if you're buying donor sperm.
Okay. And with the donor samples, you get to screen who the person was, like their genetic makeup, that kind of thing. Is the female able to do that? Okay.
Yes. So there are the sperm banks that are working in Canada. They work with sperm banks from the United States, from Europe, and some in Canada. And so yes, all those donors are screened, and the sperm banks look after that.
And like, just for example, if a woman was looking for maybe a baby who could potentially be blonde and blue-eyed, and could they ask for a donor with blonde and blue eyes and a certain look in the hopes of maybe genetically that happening? Okay, all right, that's good to know.
Yes, they can.
Wow, a lot of options available for people. That's amazing. Now, I'm sure you've been doing this for many years, and you've brought so much joy to people's lives, by being able to have a child. And I know what a blessing it is to have children. I have 3 of my own. So what kind of transformation has happened for you in your life by seeing all these people's lives changed by your help?
I love what I do, and this is why I do it. I'm amazed every day at the miracles that I witness. The other part of it is the more we think we know, the more I think we realize we don't know. I witness miracles many times in my years of practice, and then I'm just amazed by some of the people's journeys and the strength that they display, and I'm just honored to be a guide on their fertility journey. Fantastic.
Dr. Timea, where can people locate you if they wanted information about fertility or setting up an appointment to meet with you?
So they can find me on my website, drbelejrak.com, drbelejrak.com, and we are at Yonge and Shepherd, 25 Shepherd Avenue West, Suite 650 in Toronto.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for edifying me. I've learned a great deal in just a short period of time, and I know that the listeners are very happy with the information, the wealth of knowledge that you have. So thank you again for your time. And can you just repeat one more time your website address?
drbelejrak.com, drbelejrak.com, or there's another one called yourfertility.com. It takes you to the same one.
Okay, the same site. Again, thank you again for your time. It was a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you live in front of an audience, the Nikki Clarke Show, very shortly. And I know that you're going to amaze the audience with your amazing information. So you have a wonderful day, and we'll chat soon. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Bye-bye.